So why don't you tell them?
In memory of the Parkland incident. I would appreciate it. Just a moment, please. Okay, thank you. And now I think we send this over to our student school board member to introduce our guests.
Yes, today we have Omar Ezagagi, who is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. He is a fifth grader at DeSoto Trail Elementary School, and he is accompanied by his father this evening. He is an AB Honor Roll student and a student leader in his class and school, and he is interested in swimming and fishing. Omar?
Okay, thank you.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pull your mic down. There you go.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. And also joining us today is Charlotte Simone, who is a fifth grader at DeSoto Trail Elementary School, to lead us in our thought of the day. She is accompanied by her mother and father, and she is active in Mini-Moo at her school, the Student Council, Safety Patrol. She's an Academic Achievement Honoree, and she is an AR Goal Recognition recipient, and for that she's also an avid reader and is a member of the Tallahassee dance team.
Just keep trailblazing and always do your best.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'd like to recognize the parents of these outstanding students, and the principal, Michelle Keltner, are all here. Would you all please stand and be recognized? And thank you all for doing such a great job with our students. You are certainly welcome to stay, but we know that you might have homework, and so they can all get a free pass on you and walk out the door if they need to. But thank you so much for being here. At this time, we'll have changes and additions. Ms. Bowen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The changes and additions to the February 12th meeting are as follows. The superintendent recommends approval of changes and additions to the February 12th school board meeting agenda as presented. Number 1, item 7.03, approval of personnel actions, February 12th, 2019. replace the document and the contents of the public content section. Number 2, item 19.03, removal of charter school property items located in Skyward, pulled. The auditors have asked that the information be grouped and presented in a certain manner, vehicles, pictures, and furniture, etc. And 3, add item 19.04, approval of the 2019 to 2020 and 2020 to 2021 regular school year calendar.
Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Striplin, seconded by Mr. Jones. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. Next, we have the superintendent spotlight. Superintendent, I'll let you take it over.
And we do have a spotlight tonight, Madam Chair. This time I'd like to bring up Dr. Rhonda Flanagan, the proud principal at Hartsfield Elementary School, to introduce a very special guest.
Good evening to the board, superintendent, and it is such a pleasure to be here on such a great occasion. Spotlight comes from Hartsfield Elementary School, and tonight we appreciate you recognizing our Crossing Guard of the Year for the state of Florida, not just Tallahassee, but for the state of Florida, Mr. Danny Burnett.
Yay!
And I'll have to tell you, Mr. Danny, as we heartfelt call him, he is just the quintessential of crossing guards, and you can come by Hartsfield as we enter school or as we leave, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. I just wanted to read one statement from the nomination that we sent in for Mr. Danny. Mr. Burnett, affectionately known as Mr. Danny, is simply the model by which all crossing guards should be trained. He is the consummate professional who daily ensures the safety of our students, faculty, staff, and visitors in a positive and interactive way. Mr. Danny has the respect of students, of parents, of community members, of the faculty and the staff. The students love him. He not only is a fixture outside, but also inside the school as well. Mr. Danny brings the faculty and staff donuts when we have engagements at the school. Our parent-family engagement conference 2 weeks ago, he's there at 6:30 a.m. helping vendors find parking spaces and helping people cross safely and park safely. And he is just, I mean, we couldn't do it without him. And you talk about keeping schools safe. Mr. Danny is keeping our students and our parents safe out there on Chowkeeben, Nini, as our school begins and also as our school ends. And we just love him. He's a part of Hartsfield, and Hartsfield couldn't do all that we do outside the school as well as within without Mr. Danny there. So we're happy that he's spotlighted this weekend. It really is a spotlight to Mr. Danny, is a spotlight on Hartsfield, a spotlight on Hartsfield, a spotlight to Leon County, and especially in this manner, the State Crossing Guard of the Year, Mr. Danny Burnett. And I could go on, but, you know, when we saw the nomination, we said, oh, our Mr. Danny has got to win that award. And I went around out at the parent, where parents walk up and pick their kids, and I had my phone, and I was asking parents, so what do you think about Mr. Danny? And I ran into one of his mentors when he was in the services, and he's just inspired so many people on so many levels. And it's a great thing to be a part, for him to be a part of our school and our mission and what we do, and he's always there, and we love him for that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Superintendent is trying to do something here special, but why don't we all go up for a picture and have everybody come forward?
Wonderful.
And how about if the rest of the Hartsfield staff come on up too? We got the assistant principals here and the media specialists. A lot of people. Let's go.
So Denver Lee has a. I don't want to do this here. Let me wait till I get back.
are so proud of Mr. Danny from Hartsfield Elementary, the 2018-2019 state winner for Crossing Guard of the Year. Congratulations, Mr. Danny.
He is like the security cameras. He knows everything. Like, if something happens, he's there.
When I come up here, he'll tell me if they got special awards or something, because he pays attention to everything that's going on in the school.
I like seeing the kids in the morning and making sure that they're safely across the street, and that all the parents are assured that their kids are in school safely.
There is no one like you, that smiles at our families, crosses our families and our students safely. He's at our awards assemblies, graduation. He buys us donuts in the morning.
So we received word late, actually, that he won this honor of a statewide competition, and I was out of town. Chris Petley thankfully went over there and took some pictures and got them posted up. But Mr. Burnett, thank you so much for your service. I know last year, one of my superintendent work days, I was a crossing guard, or worked with a crossing guard at across the street from Kate Sullivan, and rain, shine, 20 degrees, 110 degrees, you're always there, and we're so very appreciative of all that you do to keep the 33,000 children we serve safe every day coming and going from school. It's quite an honor. Congratulations again.
As they walk out, one thing I will mention is that the parent engagement conference that he was there 6:30 in the morning, that was a Saturday. So we're talking about rain and shine. That's fabulous.
Outstanding.
Let's see, we've done recognitions. Reports to be heard. There are none tonight. Persons to be heard.
Yes, Madam Chair, there are two speakers.
Okay.
First speaker, Scott Mazer. Please come to the mic. Give us your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes.
Scott Mazer, 3319 Dartmoor Drive. I'm here on behalf of Leon Classroom Teachers Association. There's two things that I think that have come out of the last couple of months, and that is that we are now ready to move on to some collective action that will benefit the entire community as well as Leon County schools. One of the first things that we reached out to do is that I think it's Superintendent Runcie of Broward County has asked all school districts at 10:17 a.m. on Valentine's Day to observe a moment of silence in remembrance of the 17 fallen, as well as look for acts of kindness. So we've got a couple of schools that we're adopting that we're going to reach out to kind of bring some stickers and to observe that with, but we strongly encourage and look forward to working with you on how we can make that happen at different school sites. The second thing is March 4th. Is the beginning of legislative session, and there's a lot of things that have been talked about in the news, according to the governor, about what's going to happen with education, but we know that those are all just talk, that all the decisions are made by the legislature, and so March 4th, we're looking to do a day of action, and we'll be in touch about that as well so that we can start working together to address the needs of everybody within the system, our support staff, our bus drivers, our 1010 folks, our instructional staff, our administrators. We know that if you think of what the statistics say, funding for instructional staff has been at the lowest of all 50 states this past year. Salaries were ranked 50th in growth nationally, and salaries within the state of Florida are 45th. Our support staff, which is hard to hang on to, if you see that personnel action form, there's a lot of movement on that support staff, is 47th out of 50 states. So we look forward to it, appreciate the opportunity, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Scott.
Madam Chair, the next speaker, Kristen White. Again, give us your name, address. You'll have 3 minutes.
Kristen White, 4094 South Park Circle. So, I'm here to speak about school safety. At our school, we feel a little bit unsafe because the drills we have aren't good enough to us. when we had a fire drill recently, the speaker wasn't very loud and the announcement was too long and people were already starting to walk out the door. And then we heard that it was a lockdown drill instead of a fire drill. And we thought that if it was a real situation and people were already out the door, then that wouldn't be safe. Another thing is that during transition time, we don't have any protocols for if there was a lockdown, and nobody really knows what to do. So we don't feel entirely secure in that way either. And that's it. So, thank you.
Thank you for bringing that.
What grade? I'm not going to ask what school right now, but what grade are you in?
8th.
8th. You're very brave and very courageous to come up here and speak to us.
Yeah.
And I have Chief John Hunkyard that's in the back of the room, and if you wouldn't mind, you and your father, or whoever you're here with, to have a few words with him. That's why we have drills, to practice. And that's why we continuously try to do all of our, whether it's a fire drill or lockdown exercise or transitions. And I know we've worked with our principals, and obviously we need to do some more work. But I can promise you we'll get it right. So if you'll share some information with Chief Hunkyard on your way out, sweetie, tell me your name again.
Kristen White.
Kristen, thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you, Kristen.
That's how change happens.
Thank you.
No more speakers.
Okay. We have items of consent. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a question.
Okay, let me get the motion, and then we can have a question after that, okay? A motion and a second. Ms. Triplett, Ms. Bowen, and there's a question on the floor.
Do any of these bids, quotes, and other contracts have any minority or women business participation?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think if you're going to ask questions about items, they need to be pulled from the consent agenda if there's going to be a question or a discussion about them. So the purpose of the consent agenda is just to have it moved without the need for discussion. But if you have a question that requires an answer on those items, then they're going to need to be pulled and moved to consideration.
Well, that's going to be, well, tell me what would be the process, because that's going to be my constant question at every meeting.
In response to your question, when the agenda is published and board members are given an opportunity to ask questions, that can be a question that is presented, and then district staff can provide that information at the agenda review.
Okay.
I don't know that question was asked at this prior agenda review. So right now, in order to ask that question concerning any items, those items would need to be pulled.
Okay. Well, does anyone who has that area of concern have an answer to that question?
I don't know that they have that answer here today. Usually, the reason for the asking board members to present the questions is to give district staff the time to come up with the answers, to research and obtain the answers to those questions. So I don't know if there are answers available at this time, but I would say you've kind of given a blanket question. Your question needs to pertain to particular agenda items. If you still have that question, those items would need to be pulled and we'd see if there is an answer. But right now, we're on the consent agenda, and that's designed to move items without discussion.
All right.
Mr. Jones.
This is so that we're clear. This will be my abiding concern, whether or not our vendor selections include minority and women-owned businesses. So whatever context or instruction that you have to provide, where we find where that information is provided, I'm interested in knowing that for everything we spend, as it comes before us, are there minority and women-owned vendors represented in our spending that comes before the school board?
Superintendent, could we ask for that to be included as part of the agenda item so that it could just be read? Would that be satisfactory?
That would be a way to note it or something, because that's my constant, since I started, that's been my issue.
Right, what I'm confused with, Mr. Jones, is we have an agenda review the day before this meeting. It could have easily been pulled or questioned yesterday.
I didn't think of it yesterday. I'm thinking that's...
So it's fine. No, and moving forward, I hear you, and I would welcome conversations with Rod McQueen and others to address your issue.
Right, and we're having that meeting, but right now as we're voting on this, I'm asking that question, that's all. So if you say it have to be pulled if that makes it difficult, but know that that's a priority for me to know that we have minority and women-owned businesses who are represented in our spending. That's all.
Right. No, and I get that. I've heard it since you took office in November, and you're very passionate about that. I agree with you that we need to try to recruit more women and minority-owned business owners to participate in our process, whether it's through purchasing with June Kale or through Mr. Albritton and facilities and on the construction side, and through Mr. Watkins on the maintenance side. And I've made a concerted effort and named Mr. McQueen, once I took office, a person to oversee. Right now we call it the Small Business Organization, Small Business Department, to reach out to people in the community. We've had breakfasts, different things here, events here. We've tried to recruit local women and minority businesses to come and meet with us to talk about the process, and we'll continue to have those conversations. I can assure you that.
Thank you.
So I guess as a follow-up, Mr. Jones, I'm thinking each time we have an agenda, that could just be one of your questions and we could get that answered in the workshop. Would that be satisfactory?
That'll be satisfactory.
Okay. The motion has been...
Call the question.
I'm calling the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Okay. Thank you. And we will move down to 19, right? 19 items of consideration. First one is regarding the capital outlay budget, which we had a long discussion about yesterday, probably a 2-hour discussion. So I'd like to hear from Mr. Albritton. I'd like to make a comment about it too, but let's go ahead before we even start to get a motion and a second on the floor so we can have a discussion.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Striplin, seconded by Ms. Bowen. I'd like a presentation from you and then any comments before we vote. Thank you.
Okay, item 1901 is superintendent's recommendation to approve a proposal to amend the 2018-19 capital outlay budget. The amendments are as follows. Fairview Middle School, budget additional $8,500,000 to complete the renovation remodeling of Building 3, demolish Building 1, and site work. At Rickards High School, the budget is to be amended by $448,363 for new construction. For athletics, the budget is to put an additional $200,000 for site work at Childs Regional Football Stadium. Transportation is to ratify a budget of $291,151 to purchase 10 passenger vans. At maintenance, the budget is to amend by $649,244, which is PICO dollars that they have to spend within a 2-year period now.
Okay. Any comments from anybody on the board? The comment I'd like to make is this. We had a good discussion. I thought it was really healthy discussion about the capital outlay process. And the thing that's been missing, and then we discussed it, is that schools have not been getting FF&E money, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, since before 2008. And some of us have been approached by lots of people saying, we need new tables, we need new desks, we need new carpets. And so with our conversation yesterday, I believe we have agreement from the superintendent to really work on that, to find out what has been accomplished, what hasn't been accomplished, and what I'm really asking for is a thorough needs assessment done by the district, school by school by school, so that some principals don't have to depend on asking for new carpet and others are maybe more forceful and they ask for it earlier. I'd like to see a organized schedule with district priorities and start trying to, bring up to speed all of our schools, especially when it comes to furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So, Superintendent, would you like to say anything before I ask for the vote?
I couldn't agree more. This is kind of outside of what we're voting on tonight, but it is certainly a priority of mine as well as we continue to look for ways to push resources down to our schools. We did it with instructional materials. We did it with flexible dollars. And some of those flexible, that $750,000 that we sent this year in flexible spending could be used to buy blinds and to buy furniture and things like that. But I agree. I think we should return to the days when you and I were principals back prior to 2008. And we used to receive that money. And if we needed desks to be replaced or repaired, we needed new tables for a science room or things like that, we had the flexibility to do it. So things are tight right now with capital outlay until we see the projects at Rickards and Fairview through to the finish line. But I looked at some numbers today, talked to Mr. Albritton. We talked about potentially selling a piece of land that we own here in the near future, that we would look to put a line item back in the capital outlay budget each year that is dedicated to FF&E. And I would be proud to bring that before you.
Well, I'm thrilled, and I think probably the other board members are as well. Were there any other comments?
No.
Okay, I'm calling the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The capital outlay budget passes. Mr. Albritton, you're still up there, so you want to tell us about the next item, 1902?
1902 is superintendent's recommendation for approval for all state construction at guaranteed maximum price for Phase 3 as a construction manager at risk for Rickards High School, new construction, site improvements, underground utilities, bridge demolition of 7 and 8, and selected demo, and new canopies behind Building 23. The guaranteed maximum price for this project is $2,449,579. This is also a $35 million estimated construction budget of $35 million as funding becomes available.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Jones, seconded by Ms. Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It passes.
If I may, Madam Chair, comment on that. I'm really excited about this. This is Phase 3B, which doesn't mean a whole lot to most people other than Danny and I and Allison, the project manager. But we had a budgeted amount on this for $3.1 million, so we're about $600,000 under budget with this phase. I also talked to Ms. Garber today, and they're purchasing all new furniture for that building, and every single classroom will have computers for every student.
Yeah,
it's great.
Which is just
awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. So building 23. I hope Miss Lewis Butler is watching tonight.
Yes, I hope.
This is no Band-Aid. Let's make that very clear. And if you've driven past Rickards High School in the last week or so, you'd be blown away. So we're very excited about this number as we continue to make progress, and hopefully we'll have a couple of ribbon cuttings in early April, both at Fairview and at James S. Rickards High School.
Wonderful.
Superintendent, if you would like me, I can forward those aerial shots to Ms. Coffey, and she can forward them to the board.
Great. Yeah. So they sent us some aerial shots every month to give us an update of what it looked like when we started and what the property looks like now. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. We have a long way to go, but we're off to a wonderful start.
That's great.
Good races. Good.
We have 1903 was pulled, so 1904 approval of the 2019, 2020, 2021 calendar.
I move. Oh, there's going to be discussion.
We can go ahead
first.
and move it.
Okay, I move the recommendation for the approval of the calendars as noted.
Second.
Second by Ms. Striplin. Now, if you just tell us what we're voting on, that'd be great.
I sure will. First of all, you're voting on a historical moment because we've never done a multi-year calendar. As you know, within Yes. As you note within the attachments, there was a calendar, two options for Option 1, which is a calendar much like we're living today. Option 2 was a calendar that was a little bit different, but all of these, most importantly, looked at stakeholder input. The calendar survey was sent out via SurveyMonkey on January the 29th, and it stayed out until February the 6th. All the information from the survey is attached. 75% of those who participated in the survey voted for option 1, which is just like what we're living now for the next 2 years. 25% voted for option 2. On Thursday, February the 7th, this information did go to the District Advisory Council. They unanimously approved the survey, which was option 1. And so now it stands before you for final approval.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Okay.
Madam Chair, related,
Yes.
may I just say how very good it feels to have this at this particular state of doneness, given some of the other discussions that we've had in the past years. So I need to thank Dr. Gale and staff and others. There's been often some very robust discussions, and to have this be unanimously accepted, it's wonderful. Thank you, Mrs. Superintendent. It's great.
Question real quick. The Thanksgiving.
Same as this year, the whole week.
Okay, I'm seeing. I'm probably misreading it. Tell me what I'm looking at wrong. In November on the calendar, it looks like an A, an A, an A, and then an H and an H.
Administrators.
Administrative days.
Administrators.
Which means that teachers and students are out. The schools are still open should they get with their directors and assistant superintendent. It's administrative days. We still work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but students are out. And the H's are holidays, which everyone observes.
So H really doesn't mean holiday for students. A means holiday for students.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
And teachers.
Got it. I'm on it. All right, thank you.
And the H does. The A's and the H's mean holidays for students and teachers.
I have a lot of students in my house, so I really am
That's what's
just
important.
concerned
I
about
see.
the
I see.
holidays for
Good.
students. I have a senior that is wanting me to say that seniors don't basically have to go for the rest of the year once they get accepted to college. I told him I really didn't have that power, but you know. So thank you for clarifying.
Great,
Can I ask a question as well?
Of course,
Does this new
Ashley.
calendar include new school start times, or is that a separate item for another day?
I'll let the superintendent.
No, that's a separate item. These are days, not times.
Perfect, thank you.
But I'm very excited. So we don't have to go through this exercise next year.
Yep.
So we did it for a 2-year deal, which is very exciting.
And different.
And, and it was 3 out of every 4 people we surveyed chose this option. Chris Petley was one of the 25% that did not. So I'm sorry, Chris. Because we heard some parents about those days during Thanksgiving about childcare and some of those other issues. But in talking to teachers, when we had classes on Monday and Tuesday, there were like 10 kids in a class, and they were really wasted instructional days anyway. I like this calendar. I think I heard a lot of feedback that people enjoyed the time after Christmas to get their things back in order and things together. We have MLK Day off. We have President's Day on Monday. We have the spring holiday in April. So all in all, it's a good calendar. There were some other concerns. The 2 things we heard, one was Thanksgiving, and then 2 coming back after Memorial Day for exams and graduation ceremonies. But you're not going to make everybody happy. But the process, and Dr. Gay is a tribute to her. All the stakeholders were involved in making this process, in making this decision.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, we have upcoming meetings. There's nothing. Oh, yes, I guess there's 2001. Is that an information item?
Yes.
Okay. Who has that item? Oh, it's just, okay. And reports, we don't have any. And so superintendent's comments.
Briefly, Madam Chair, two things I'd like to mention. One, we've come to an agreement with Leon Classroom Teachers Association and Mr. Mazer, and want to thank them for the bargaining and how professional they were. And we could never pay our teachers enough, and I know I speak to Ms. Stripling and everyone else on this board, but it's about a $4.6 million package, a $1,500 increase across the board from beginning teacher salaries will go from $36,000 to $37,500 if ratified, and we have to move the needle, both to recruit new teachers and to retain the ones that we have. And now I think we'll turn our focus to the Capitol as a united front, whether you're in sitting in this chair or as board members or Mr. Mazer and others, that we will go talk to our local representatives, both in the House and the Senate, as well as the governor, to learn more about Best and Brightest. There are some real concerns I have there with that potential $9,000 bonus for teachers. And anyway, but I will say that the president, Mr. Mazer, and I are on the same common ground when it comes to how we feel about bonuses. That's not the approach. The approach needs to be to take that money to build it into their salary schedule to where it goes towards their retirement, and not to pick and choose who receives a bonus and who doesn't. Because once you start valuing one individual more than others, it's just a recipe for colossal failure. And and morale. So we're thankful with negotiations have ended for this current year, and hopefully we'll look again to move the needle a little more over the course of the next several years, notwithstanding new money from the legislature. The second thing we had a visit from Advanced Ed. Would also like to thank Dr. Gale for all of her hard work and the team. It was just a wonderful visit. We got some great feedback. Was Denver going to show? Denver's going to show. Okay, so we're going to watch this video. There you go. So we're going to watch this video real quick that we showed it at the beginning of the accreditation process before the committee, and then I'll have a few closing comments. We're all in this together, whether you're a bus driver, a custodian, whether you're the principal, whether you're the superintendent. We are a family trying to raise our children, and we have 34,000 children.
It is everybody working together to make this school what it is, and there's no way that we could be who we are without everybody on board.
It's like actually knowing that somebody cares about you enough to ask you if you understand what's going on, and if you say you don't, they'll reteach it to you.
Gonna be okay. I'll see you at lunch. Okay? We care about our kids. They're our kids. They all are.
You have to build relationships with kids and give them that family sense so that they trust you.
Whenever I have conversations with administration, we talk in terms of family. We know these students. We know their parents.
That's how you get them to learn.
Without diversity, there's ignorance. They won't understand the struggles that other people have been through if they were surrounded by just people like them.
To be able to meet students from Russia, India, China, Indonesia, it is a big melting pot like America.
We have 23 different nationalities or more in the school, so we got a mix of everything that you can have in what's out in the real world.
You have that at every school. It's about the variance of students. They all have a place. They all can learn from each other.
There's so many different people that are in the public school system, and it's such a diverse group of people. And so I think that that's a really, really good environment to learn in.
Every student can take advantage of what other students know and what they don't know.
To find creative ways to keep diversity at all of our schools and all of our school sites, to make the 12 years that they spend with us magical.
Now here we go.
Once upon a time, I was searching the sky. Once upon a time.
At this time, I'd like to bring up the director of the Leon County Schools Foundation, Nick Maddox.
Today is my pleasure to present checks to 19 schools that were funded through our I-4 grant. This represents $126,000 of funding in classroom grants.
The foundation is that link to help our schools.
I went over to Pineview, and they had a garden they were creating over there, and that was given by the foundation. And that part got me really excited. That really got me motivated about doing what we do.
It is that one place where you can get extra funding to make your dreams come true.
Coming into high school, I was thinking, okay, college is the best option for me. I'm more hands-on. I like to get to the basics of everything of when starting out.
All students are not going to go to college. Lively plays a big part with our industry certification, their welding program, automotive program.
You can earn a really good living with a trade skill, with an industry certification.
Well, my degree is a vocational degree.
A lot of kids feel like they're a failure if they don't go to a four-year school, and that's not necessarily the case.
Some people, they don't have the time to wait 4 years in order to get started on what they like to do. Some people just like to get to it.
I love my job. I love my students. And my end goal is to see them succeed.
As there is an honor in jobs that require vocational skills.
My best advice is just check it out.
When it comes to public schools like Leon County Schools, we are the Statue of Liberty. We take you're hungry, you're tired, you're poor, but we take everybody.
It's not just about the books and the academics. It's about truly building an individual with a global mindset, and they're in the community, they're volunteering.
That just really touches my heart when I see our kids going out of their way to help others in the community who are not as fortunate as they are. That, I think, is very special.
The well-rounded student is going to be even more important when we're talking about going out into the real world. And it's important to have a balance.
If my life was based on my standardized testing, I wouldn't be where I am today.
No matter what they come in looking like, wearing, or no matter where they've come from, you have to give them that sense of it's safe, it's okay for learning to take place.
Go Denver.
Denverly, there you go. I think Board Member Jones said it best when he saw that video. He sent me a text message. That video was fire. Enough said.
Oh, it was. That was good.
Yes, outstanding.
Beautiful job.
We
Good
have
job.
so much to be proud of in this district, and I really am excited that Advanced Ed recognized that and appreciated that, and again appreciate Denverly's video and all the work of the staff to help us look good, because we are good, and I'm glad they got to see that. So thank you so much. Continuing concerns from board. Did anybody else want to say something?
Well, no, under continuing concerns, perhaps my question can be, we just met with Advanced Ed. Do we know where we are with them just yet? Are we still waiting?
Well, we know we're good for another 5 years. That part we do know.
Well, then that's what we need
there you
to
go.
know.
So yeah, we're good for another 5 years or 50,000 miles.
And that means we are
And with every accreditation visit, they their job is to look at our school system as a system. And I'm glad they do it district wide. Remember, we used to do it. Each individual school had to go through that process, and now they can look at our school district in totality and give recommendations. And there'll be some recommendations, and as they compare us to other school districts, not in the state, only in the state of Florida, but throughout the country. And you know, they had a lot of positive things to say, which we knew. But I'm sure there will be some things that they are going to point out to us, and areas that we can look to improve on, which is what we welcome.
Good job.
Okay.
Great job. Great job.
Any continuing concerns from board members?
Just,
Ms. Strickland?
Madam Chair, just real briefly, this is a little continuing in that you guys have already met one time as a unified group, city, county, school board. We've talked a little bit about the need for this, and I just want to take a minute to thank Daryl Jones for putting the question out there. Hey, you know, can all the board have input into what we feel is a worthy of conversation between the three bodies? And I just want to thank you for that, because there was kind of turning in my head, and so that really brought it to light. So thank you for that. And I just want to make sure we get so much mail at the district, and we get email, and we get all kinds of information from our schools and inside and outside. But I just want to touch on the email that we received from the chamber. It was on January the 31st. If you guys have not taken a look at it, and it's 21 pages. But the chamber hired kind of an outside entity, or had a group put together that did sort of an assessment of our community as a whole and how can we get where we want to go. And I found it a really interesting read. They hit a lot on what we talk about, and there is a constant reiteration in the entire document of the need for a combined strategic plan moving forward of the city, the county, and the school board. And so this is all things that we keep talking about, and they point out very clearly the needs, and I mean, they refer to two Tallahassees several times in the document, and they're kind of bringing all of that to light, and that there's a lack of a clear vision for growth that's widely accepted in the community, and that means everyone in the community. So I just wanted to take a minute to say how I found this document really putting on paper a lot of the things that we've discussed and a lot of the things that I think we all know. And with this board and this new superintendent, we're striving in areas that I think maybe we haven't in the past. And so just take a minute, if you haven't already, which I'm sure you have, but I just wanted to call your attention to it and make sure that we're all kind of reading this, especially as we move toward our annual retreat. And hopefully there will be a day where we see a combined strategic plan amongst the three entities.
Great. Madam
Yes.
Chair, related to that, I'd love to be able to segue smoothly into the article that appeared in the Tallahassee Democrat, maybe Friday last week, about 32304 in our county being the poorest area in the state of Florida. And I hope that once we all as a community start to take a look at that information and where we go with that, we can influence the kinds of decisions that would cause all of us in this society or in this community to understand what is happening and to come up with some strategies and ways that is not the case anymore. Don't know how true the information is. I understand that there might be a summit at some point in the very near future held to discuss that by all of the government entities. And so with this kind of governance, I hope that, and I live in the middle of 32304, just in case anybody is interested. So I'm very much interested in how we might follow through and follow up on this. So I just needed to throw that in. So thank you, Ms. Strickland, for mentioning that. Okay.
Can I just add, interesting, I was going to mention that, and Mr. Jones, did you want to say something as well? Let me finish, and then you go right ahead. I was going to bring it up tonight. I do appreciate the input we got for the meeting, that the mayor really got started, and I do think that as we develop our strategic plan and look at it, that can be our guidepost in what to bring forward to those meetings. So I think that's going to be really important that we set priorities and then we know what the whole board thinks, because that's what we need to do is represent. Okay. I want to, as my part, want to represent the entire board. And so if there's anything in between before we get that done, just go ahead and send it to Dr. Gale, and we'll be sure to put it on the agenda like we did last time, but we're going to meet once every 6 weeks was the decision. Okay. But I do think the strategic plan should drive that discussion even, more strongly. And I agree with you on the chamber report. That's an excellent report for us to all read and look at. And, if we can work as one community, we're just going to get a lot farther.
Absolutely.
Mr. Jones?
First, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Rogers, who is featured in this year's TCC Community African American, Sherry Alexander, African American History Calendar, a well-deserved recognition. Congratulations and kudos to you. I too am concerned about 32304. A portion of my district is in 32304. But you know what I take great comfort in knowing? And that is the solution to the problems found in 3234. A great deal of that resides in the power of the programs that we provide in both our schoolhouses and at the Lively Vocational Technical Center. The best response to poverty is a job. And with what we're doing at Lively Vocational Technical Center and the tentacles that they have that stretch all the way to to our elementary schools, to our middle schools, and to our high schools, and putting young people on a path of opportunity inherent through workforce education is going to mitigate those issues. It's more important to us now that we continue to strengthen Lively, that it can continue to be the resource and the remedy to poverty. And so, as we talk about these discussions, we are an important part of that discussion because we are one of the integral parts of that solution. Another thing that I think is important, and this is why I also bring this up all the time, when we talk about supporting minority and women-owned businesses, as they grow, they're able to do what? create more jobs. And when they create more jobs, when they are sustained, they are supported by already we do it with the city and the county. Imagine the enormous economic impact that we would then have, most specifically in 32304, when we support more minority and women-owned businesses. So the solution to the problem, a great deal of the solution to that problem, is found right here in the resources and the innovation born right here in Leon County Schools.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. And sort of tagging onto that, I wanted to add one more thing as sort of a follow-up from our meeting when we changed the name of Lively to Lively College. And we also at that meeting said we wanted to follow up with Dr. Murdaugh and TCC to see how we can work together cooperatively. And I'm happy to say that we do have a meeting scheduled. I believe it's this week with the superintendent, myself, Dr. Murdaugh and his staff, with Shelley Bell. And so I'm really looking forward to that. And once again, if you have some specific things you want us to bring up at that meeting, I would appreciate you getting those to Dr. Gale so that I can represent the board on that. But I know the superintendent reached out, I reached out, and I'm sure he reached out. So I'm really excited that we're going to bury any little hatchet that was created, and we're going to move forward together as one community. And so I thought you'd be happy to know that.
Yes, we are happy to know that.
Is there anything else?
Yes.
New issues from board members?
Yes, Madam Chair, there is. And I thought I'd ask loud, but I didn't. I should have asked louder to have had under new issues from board members. Black History Month.
Yes.
I did not, but I'm going to ask to have that even now as a new issue for the February 26th meeting. However, Mr. Jones started to steal part of what I wanted to do, so I'll just finish the other part. He acknowledged the outstanding accomplishments and achievements of our own outstanding friend and Team Leon member, Dr. Kathleen Rogers. So we will salute her because she is on the Cherry Alexander calendar for this year. But there are two more individuals that are affiliated with our school system, and that is Pastor Quincy Griffin. Some of you may recall that he works at Rickers High School, I believe, along with Dr. Gale. But he is also noted or featured in this particular calendar, so we congratulate him and offer our congratulations yet again for the outstanding things that he has done, along with Dr. Gale. And Mr. Griffin is Mr. I've got to get my tabs right here for my commercial that I'm doing. I'm almost there. There it is, Mr. Benny Bolden. Mr. Benny Bolden is a trained musician, and he has had tremendous influence on the Southside community at NIMS Middle School and other areas. He is the assistant principal. So we give him, and he is in District 3, Mr. Jones. Yes, he is. So we congratulate him and offer our continued support for these three individuals who have shown outstanding leadership, service, and commitment and dedication to this community. All of this is part of our Black History Month celebration. However, you may recall, board members, that a week or so ago, we were each reading at our schools, and that was a lot of fun. I had a great time. And so in my reading, and talking about reading, I happened to run into a teacher over at Fairview Elementary, Miss Beverly Swikert, who is the 21st century after school person in charge there. And she is meeting with a group of girls, and there is a reading group that she has established. And you know, if you are not able to read, you're probably not going to be as successful as you could be in life. So I was very happy to know that she had made some assignments to these students so that they could read a book. And she has asked these students to read at home in peace and in quiet 2 days a week for 20 minutes. And it is her hope that they would be, during their reading, they would find words and be informed about things they didn't know. The name of the book that they would read it, and some of you might be interested in this, is entitled Push Out. It is by Monique W. Morris. and it is dealing with the criminalization of black girls in schools. And it is a look at cultural beliefs, the policies and practices that criminalize and are insensitive to the stresses that many black girls live in and deal with all across America. And at Fairview Middle School, a small group of girls have been asked to read and to give this thought-provoking book a better view of what's happening throughout the American 50. The hope is to foster thoughts of knowing better, believing better, and dealing better with the everyday issues confronting black girls. Push Out peels back the curtain on over-discipline that results in the pushing away of black girls from education. The education of young women should never be halted when they get into trouble, but it should be put in the forefront of the disciplinary action that is to take place. Educate in achieving success, right to an education, to hear, to foster positive creative minds. And I suspect that you're watching TV these days and you can system. Finally, if I had to ask some of you to name some outstanding and notable African Americans, you probably would say Martin Luther King, the former president and the former First Lady of the United States. You might even mention some of us, C.J. Walker, Madam C.J. Walker. You probably do some other folk. But I doubt that many of you would mention George Edwin Taylor. And I would not have mentioned him either. But let me tell you why I want to bring him to your mind, so maybe you might remember his work. That would be an editor in Wisconsin. Edition of the Florida Times was the largest of the 20th century. Mason was the first person who officially
Southern African Americans to the north for the Harlem Renaissance and all the musical traditions that came out of that. And all the students participated. It was amazing. And then we had the students from Bond Elementary School who are from the Congo, the Congolese students.
Yes, the Congolese students.
There are 60 of them.
Isn't that exciting?
At Bond Elementary School. It was very surprising, and they were so beautiful. They performed for the whole school, and it was just a wonderful event, and I'll send you a picture about it.
Did the faculty dress out this year?
Oh, they had a faculty fashion show in their dashikis, and it was wonderful. So if you've never gone to the Swift Creek Black History show, you need to go next year, and I certainly will be there too. And Ashley, you want to say something?
If I can, actually for the next 2 Fridays throughout the month of February, Leon High School during our lunch schedule is having a Black History through the Arts, recognition. That's going to be right on the front hill. So for any Leon High School Lions listening in, feel free to join us on the hill. But if you also would like to come and visit us as well, I think we're featuring some of our very own students as well as other historic community members.
It's great. And you know, February is the shortest month in the year for us to do this. And we do that because it has been set aside. But I remain very happy that we and Leon County schools continue to infuse. They even had Frederick Douglass, I think, over at the Galsvini Center the other day, Mr. Jones, and I thought, Frederick Douglass, okay. So it's just a wonderful time for us to continue to celebrate, to show and bring about a balance of who made America and the contributions and that kind of thing.
Thank you, Ms. Bowen. Appreciate it. Okay. Superintendent, did you have anything else to say?
No, I'm good. I couldn't say it any better than she just did.
Okay, well, I'm going to say, yes, sir. Oh, I thought you're right. Board Member Jones, would you like a new concern? Go ahead.
I'd like to first
put your mic down there.
I'd like to acknowledge that with us today is the President and CEO of the Bond Community Health Center, Dr. Temple Robinson is with us today.
Oh, great.
Oh, hi, Dr. Robinson.
And in recognition of Black History Month, I'd like to call the names of my predecessors: School Board Member Doris Alston, Curtis Richardson, Maggie Lewis Butler, and Dr. Joy Bowen. And in the words of Sir Isaac Newton, if I have seen further, it is because I stand squarely on the shoulders of giants.
I will buy your next Frosty.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, with that, I'm going to say Happy Black History Month and Happy Valentine's Day, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
So take your...